All right, so here we are. Final steps of phase one of the Ford Pinto project. Yeah, so this is just phase one. We'll do a phase two where we do the interior, and probably a phase three where we model we do the UVs and texture it. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm just kind of modeling some stuff that will go underneath the car, just as kind of like a visual representation. Like a lot of these cars have like skid pads underneath, and they look a bit funky. Like whenever I've just noticed my experience modeling cars, when I don't kind of put something underneath it to represent like all the sort of bells and whistles that are under a car, you can see them from a normal angle. Like you can see them from a normal, top down angle, but barely. But I think they do serve a purpose in making it look like a real car, right? Having those things in there. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm kind of modeling like a little bit of a skid pad at this bottom part here. And I'm not putting a lot of detail in it. I'm just making something where the eye will see that there's like components under the car, right? And then in a moment, I do the same thing for the inside. I kind of model just like a cube that will represent the radiator, and just sort of block the view, right? Because you can see, right? If you pause the video, as I'm looking at it, you can see through the grill into like where the wheels are, right? So you can like see the tires through the grill. And you shouldn't be able to do that. So here I'm just modeling some stuff that's going to just sit right there inside of the car and sort of block the view. Like normally you'd have a radiator there. That's what this is sort of representing. And a few other things. I also want to take this moment since this is just a slow time lapse and I'm talking here, I also just want to take a moment to reflect on this project, and how I feel about it, and how I feel like I've grown from this. I've only done this is probably my third complete car model. And over the years, right? So we're talking course of many, many years. And I think I've enjoyed this one the most, and I was most productive with this one, and I finished it the quickest. I spent the least amount of time on it, even though I easily have 40 hours into this, right? So 40 hours I'm estimating about 40 hours of work time. And then, there's like, time lapses and stuff. So condensed down, I think we're probably at about like 28 hours total, 27, 26, 28 hours total, in video time for this. But yeah, it's been a fun project. I really enjoyed it. The first car I ever did was like a modern BMW SUV, and it was a lot of fun. And I did that with NURBS patch modeling, and I did it with NURBS patch modeling just because I wanted to learn the process. And back then, this is probably 10 years ago, easily. Back then, a lot of people were, if you were doing a car model, NURBS patch modeling was the way to do it, right? That was just kind of like the standard way to model a car back then, is using NURBS patch modeling, or that's at least a lot of people did it that way. So that was like my first experience modeling a car. Here I'm just kind of looking at the back, and I'm going to do something that just sort of represents the gas tank and the muffler, the exhaust pipe. So back to my story. I did the first car with NURBS patch modeling because I wanted to learn that process. And then I did the El Camino, the most recent car that I did. I did that one over the course of probably like 3 years, 2 or 3 years, just as a demo project in my class. And I did that. It was sort of an experimental way because I wanted to apply the same concepts you get from NURBS patch modeling to polygon modeling. And that's sort of like where I landed with this one too, is that doing that El Camino model is kind of like it was kind of like the training, I guess, if so to speak, for this project. And yeah, I think I've developed a pretty solid way to model cars without using NURBS, with just using polygons and using sort of like the extrusion profile curve method. And I'm just personally a lot more comfortable working with polygons. So that's pretty much why I've chosen to go that route. So here I'm modeling the muffler exhaust pipe. And again, I'm not putting a lot of detail in it. There may be some situations where I'd want to come in and remodel or add, to the bottom of the car. For example, if I'm doing like a scene where this car is jumping over a canyon or something like that, and you're going to see the bottom of it, I'd want to go in and model the at least some of the bottom mechanic stuff. I think the steering linkage is probably the most intimidating part when it comes to the under part. But I think because it's such a non-visible area, it's not something that we're all experts in seeing. Like, we're all sort of experts in what a car looks like from the outside, right? But we're not all necessarily experts on what a car looks like, the undercarriage of a car looks like. So in those situations, you can have a little bit more freedom and kind of just making things up, right? And not having everything look great. But yeah, I'm not spending a lot of time on this stuff. I'm just trying to get something there to visually represent that there's stuff under the car, right? So I'm not trying to pour in a lot of detail for this. Yeah, this is phase 1 of this assignment, just the modeling the exterior. Phase 2 will be modeling the interior. And then again, like phase 3 will be doing the UVs and the texturing. I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break. I have some ideas for other videos that I want to make, and some personal projects that I want to work on. So I'll probably take a little bit of a break from this, but get back to it in the next few months or so, modeling the interior. I have a vehicle modeling class coming up in the fall, so I'll probably be in the mood, right, to continue this project during that time. But yeah, I would like to hear from you guys if you like, because this is more of a intermediate to advanced workflow series. I tend to do a little bit of a mix of like very beginner friendly tutorials and videos, and some more advanced stuff as well. What I would like to hear what you guys would like. Would you like more advanced sort of topics, or I feel like I definitely get a lot better feedback and a lot more views on the beginner friendly stuff, because I feel like there's more people who need that than the more advanced techniques and stuff. So that's what I try to make. But it would be good to hear from the community and what they would like to see from me. So far, I've gotten really good feedback from my videos. And I really enjoy making them. My number one priority is, I just want to say real quick, what I'm doing right here is I'm kind of deleting everything from one side and mirroring it back over, just so I make sure I get it right on both sides. My main priority with these videos is for my actual physical students. So I am a college professor. I teach full-time. That is my career. And my main priority are my students that I have in those classrooms. As a bonus, I share my content with the world, and I get a lot of really good feedback from people all over the world saying that my videos help them a lot, and that makes me feel really good about it. Even though I don't have the highest production quality, I do enjoy sharing my content with the world. So what I'm doing here is I'm organizing. So my method for organizing this, because it's a little bit overwhelming when you're just looking at the the outliner and all the stuff that you have to organize, that can be very overwhelming. So my process for doing this is organizing things by materials. So for example, all the rubber, all the car paint, all the metal or the chrome. What I'm doing is I'm selecting them all. So everything that's got the same material on it, I select them and then I group them together. So when I group them, that's going to pull them out of any groups that they were in before and put them into this new group. Then I name that new group and then I hide it. So I can sort of check things off the list as I go down in this way. So I'm going to select, here I'm selecting all of my reflectors, all of my headlights, and then I group them together. I name the group, and then I hide it, and then I just move on. It kind of looks cool. You get to see like almost like a dissected ghost version of your project. But yeah, that's what I'm doing here. Again, so I'll explain it again whenever I start to select something larger. So here I'm going to do all the chrome shapes, right? So I'm selecting everything that's going to have like a chrome material on it. And then what I do is group it. So Control G to group it. It's going to pull everything out of old groups and put them into new groups. And then I rename that group to something like chrome pieces, and then I hide it. So as I go, I can sort of check things off the list, and it's a little bit easier to wrap your brain around because you're sort of only looking at what you need to deal with at the moment, I guess, if that makes sense. So that's just the way that I'm organizing. I like to organize things by material type. That will change depending on what you're doing, right? So if I'm ready to rig this thing and make it and animate it, I'm probably going to organize it in a more conducive way for rigging, right? Where each one of the tires and wheels will turn independently, right? So I'll probably put like the hood and the doors on in their own groups, so those can be animated individually. So it just depends on your application of what you're going to be doing with this model. But from here, what I'm going to be doing is texturing it, UVing it and texturing it, right? So generally, for me, it makes more sense to group things based on their materials when I do that. So that's it. Yeah, I go through and I do everything, and then I'll unhide all of my newly named groups, and then I select them all and I group them together. So now I have everything under one group, under one Ford Pinto group. And then what I do is I'm going to just kind of go through all the junk that's in my outliner. Here I realize that I can see through a gap under my hatchback. So I'm just going to go in and kind of extrude that out a little bit so we don't see through the hatchback. There's a little bit of a gap there. So I just kind of noticed that as I was modeling, and I was like, I should probably fix that. So just kind of making a little bit of a lip there so we don't see through when the hatchback is closed. A lot of this, whenever I go to model, not a lot of it, but some of it, whenever I go to model the interior, may change. I may have to change some of this stuff to make it work with the interior, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So yeah, and then I'm going to kind of, when I finish up here, I'm going to kind of just look through all the junk that's left over in my outliner, because I have everything important in one group now, besides the lighting, right? So I'm just going through and looking at those empty groups one at a time, and I want to make sure whenever I delete them, I don't want to just grab all that stuff and delete it at once, because I don't want to accidentally delete something. So each one of those, I know I do that really fast, but each one of those, when I select it, I'm looking at the model and making sure that when I hit delete, nothing disappears, because that does happen sometimes. So I want to make sure that I'm not going to accidentally delete something that I'll have to just go back and remodel at some point, because I personally am bad about incremental saves. I should get better about that, but sometimes I do delete stuff and I have to go back and remodel it. So here I'm just kind of working on a little thumbnail preview view of the front and back of the car, trying to figure out how to approach that and do a render of it. That's the render from the previous video. And then at the very end of this, you'll see a really nice render where I actually went in and I put individual materials on everything, and I kind of changed the lighting a little bit. But yeah, just reflecting back on this project, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed working on this. I've really enjoyed sharing the journey. I will take a little bit of a break from this over the next couple months probably and do something else, make some other types of videos. But we will get back to it, modeling the interior, and I will take you along for the journey. I don't think modeling the interior will take as long as the exterior has. I think it's going to be a lot less time consuming. I don't think it's going to be easier. In some aspects, it's probably going to be more difficult. I've never modeled the interior of a car before, so that will be a fun learning experience for me. And you guys will get to see all of my hiccups and mistakes and things like that. But in some aspects, I think it's going to be more difficult. But the big thing that's going to help us a lot is we have the exterior, so a lot of the guesswork is going to be taken out of things that we're creating for the interior. So it will be a challenge, but I don't think it will be as time consuming. I don't think it'll take 40 hours to do the interior. And then coming up, you're going to see a little nice render that I did here. And I just, here it is. And I just, kind of assigned individual materials to everything, metal to the metal parts, rubber to the rubber parts, car paint to the car paint parts. And I think it turned out pretty nicely. It's going to look way better once we get it into Substance Painter and we can add some little tiny details to it. And then I added like that little red, white, and blue racing stripe down the center. I just did that with a ramp shader. So I just kind of did some very basic UVs and did that with my ramp shader. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. We will get back to it soon, and I will talk to you again soon.